excellence in her name and in her honor. Our community's collective hearts send our deepest condolences to the Blair family, Mary Ann's friends and neighbors. We are all ever grateful to know her and to call her friend. And may Mary Ann's life and memories be a blessing to all of us. Mary Ann would want us to continue and go forward. She was always delighted about all of the awards that we will be going over this evening with everyone and sharing. It is our honor to have students here. So we have a Eagle Scout here and also scholarship winners. So if we'll go ahead and go forward, I'm going to ask that all of us join in now in leading the Pledge of Allegiance in her honor. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to move to our special awards and presentations this evening, and we're going to start with Liam, our Eagle Scout. So Liam, and I don't know if maybe one of your parents would like to join me at the podium with you.
In 11 years of scouting, I have not met a bad person in Scouts. Everyone I've met has perfectly lived up to the example of what you want to see in a neighbor, a friend, family, anything. It's full of good people. I've made many memories and many friends there.
Well, we thank you and we congratulate you, first of all. It's so nice to have you here. You're one of our first Eagle Scouts to come before the village board and be recognized. So something new we'd like to try. And you were really honorable and said, yes, you would do this. I know it's nerve-wracking a little bit, but we appreciate it very much. So we talked a little bit about, so you recently had your honor ceremony or court of honor. And I know Trustee Kagan was there and read, who is also an Eagle Scout and was able to participate. And we have a new proclamation. I'm going to have him read that into the record for you. Okay, so this is your new one, if you don't mind. And I'm going to push this down just a little bit. You don't need it, but I do. Okay, Trustee Kagan.
Well, Liam, I have the pleasure of reading this to you a second time. So, to all who these presents come greetings proclamation, whereas Liam O'Brien has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in Scouting USA, and Liam O'Brien, as a member of Troop 516, demonstrated all of the ideals and aims inherent in the Scouting USA program. And Liam O'Brien, through his dedication to the Scout principles, together with his leadership, has been a source of inspiration to fellow Scouts and adult leaders in our community. And Liam O'Brien, in addition to the mandatory 21 merit badges required to earn the Eagle rank, Liam completed a comprehensive Eagle service project. As a Scout, Liam has been able to give service back to the community through the cleanup park days in Woodridge each year, as well as his service project providing wood storage for Graw Mill at Fuller Woods in Oak Brook, Illinois. And the Eagle Scout presentation ceremony for Liam O'Brien honoring his achievement will be held Monday, 14 July 2025. Now, therefore, I, Gina Cunningham, Mayor of the Village of Woodridge, DuPage, Will, and Cook Counties, Illinois, by virtue of my office, do hereby declare and proclaim Monday, 14 July 2025 as Liam O'Brien Day in the Village of Woodridge, and urge all citizens to recognize the inspirational achievements of Eagle Scout Liam O'Brien.
Well, we congratulate you, Liam, on your achievement.
Thank you.
And I thought we would just, one, recognize you right now. So congratulations, and ask you a couple questions if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. So I know this is an incredible achievement in your life. And I also know that your family is here and that your younger brother is also working on going forward as Eagle, to become an Eagle. But if you would please share a little bit about your Eagle project. I know Trustee Kagan highlighted it, but I'm going to have you talk right into that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My project was a wood storage shed. At Growl Mill, there's a fire pit where they hold campfires there regularly for multiple different reasons. There was no way to guarantee dry wood for the fires. As a scout, that's unacceptable. You need to have dry wood. So I built a shed and made it so if it if they did not like the perfect placement there, I made it possible to move the entire thing fairly easily.
Well, that's great.
I did it with a lot of help.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I'm sure, but that's awesome. Great. And that's a great area, the Graw Mill there. So that's wonderful. And I know you have some pictures and maybe we could even share those with the village going forward. And maybe we could get that out in our e-news to celebrate your achievement. And then can you tell me, I know you recently have had some really exciting scouting experiences, but maybe what's one of your favorites? Was it one you were on recently? Because it would have been mine.
There's
The Caribbean, weren't you just on a?
yes, I was pretty recently.
That fun?
That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I was in the Virgin Islands living on a boat for a week. My dad and my brother.
Anything else that kind of comes to mind? And I'm catching you off guard.
Yeah,
but-
no, it's
You took a 12-day, 140-mile backpacking trip through bear country.
This is his dad, also part of his scout team, and mom and brother. So that sounds very interesting as well. And when was that?
this was about 2 years ago.
And where did you go?
Philmont, New Mexico, Cimarron, New Mexico.
Okay, and you were, say it again?
It was a 12-day, 140-mile backpacking trip through bear country.
I thought,
New
I heard
Mexico.
bear country. Um,
And then we just 2-3 weeks ago, we spent a week living on a sailboat, sailing around the island of St. John down in the Caribbean.
oh my goodness.
Also, for the past 50 years, Troop 516 operating every Friday night out of Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. If anybody's ever interested, stop on out on a Friday night. We'll teach you all about Boy Scouts and what we do to provide service to the community and help young men like Liam grow up to be leaders, learn new skills. Everybody's heard of the Merit Badge programs. If there's something you want to learn about the wilderness, the wild, or society and how to build a better society, Scouts has some ideas for you and can help guide you and guide the children to grow up into fine young men and women.
Yes, wonderful. Well, we as a community, and actually I did have someone reach out to me recently and say, what's happened to the Eagle Scouts? We haven't had one this year. And I was like, oh no, I knew yours was coming through. And I said, oh, just hold on. Coming up soon, we'll be so proud to share and we congratulate you. And your achievements are incredible and your future. And just know your community is rooting for you, like our scholarship students behind you that will be receiving their scholarships tonight. We just say thank you very much for your achievements. Thank you to your troop, but really thank you to your family. And would you introduce who else is here? I know your dad is here with you.
Yeah. So I've got my brother in the red and my mom is the redhead.
Okay. Thank you. It takes a village, as we say, in a family, and congratulations to you all. And this is yours. And I noticed you had a day. I hope you did something fun that night.
Very fun.
Okay, wonderful. Congratulations to you, Liam.
Thank
Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's always exciting. And it was important to do this tonight, just to maybe change it up a little bit and try to get our achieving youth and students and Eagle Scouts here before us in the Village Hall. So we congratulate the whole family and his troop and the Village of Woodridge. Congratulations, everyone. great life achievements. So, and now we get to one of, I think mine and everyone's favorite nights here when we do our scholarships. And I'm going to ask for each of our students to come up. And I'm going to end with a student that is unable to be here because he's at work, but he just sent a note to me with his mom. So I will read that at the end, but I'm going to ask our students to come up one by one, just so you can get to know them a little bit and they can share a little bit about themselves. And I'm going to ask Carly to come up first. So Carly? I already went over the questions with Carly just to be nice because being first sometimes is not easy, but we're very excited for you to be here. And I would want to say something that there's an intergovernmental council that's made up of the library, the park district, the school district, the fire district, and the village. But I really don't vote because sometimes I know the students, so I don't feel it's fair for me to vote. But also, to be honest with you, with the caliber and the number of applicants, it is very difficult. You guys are so stellar, and it is an honor to have you here tonight and be able to introduce you. But please know, I would want everyone to know it is not easy to select, and we do a lot of work. So appreciate, though, what you've done to achieve this recognition. And I'm going to ask you, if you would please just share a little bit about yourself. And then I talked about maybe you could tell us what school you went to and maybe a favorite either experience in high school or memory or anything you'd like to share so we get to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Thank you. I'm Carly. I went to Downers Grove North High School and just graduated. And I'm going to Minnesota in the fall, University of Minnesota, to do biomedical engineering. So, yeah, a favorite memory could be
Experience, memory.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I thought of is for 3 out of the 4 years that I was at school, I went to this IBW, like electrical engineering competition, which was really a lot of fun. But the senior year last year, I managed to convince a couple of my friends in my engineering class to come do it with me, which was awesome. So we went, and we were the only all-girl team there, and we ended up winning out of like 50 teams, and it was really fun.
That's awesome. That's a great experience. Wow. And thank you. So you already shared where you're going and what your field is. Can you tell us who's with you here tonight?
Yeah. My mom and dad are back
Okay,
there.
wonderful. We'll wave to them. Thank you for being here. Thanks for having a great daughter. And we wish you the very best. We're excited for you. And as I shared with Liam, just know all the students, we always are back home rooting for you. And we're very excited. And this is for you for school. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure meeting you and wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Sean? Not so hard being the second, right? So how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. And please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and where you went to high school.
Hello, everyone. My name's Sean Higgins. I went to St. Francis in Wheaton, and I'm going to Marquette in the fall to study international business. Probably one of my favorite things about high school was the lacrosse team. They were long practices, but it was just fun kind of to be with all my friends and stuff on the field and playing all throughout the city for our games.
Okay, wonderful. And is Woodridge your hometown?
It is.
Okay, I didn't ask Carly that, but Woodridge your hometown? Okay, it is. Okay, wonderful. Well, we wish you the very best in your field of study you went through. And anything besides lacrosse is maybe a favorite memory or experience that you had?
I was with our school, we'd go on these retreats called Kairos and stuff. So I would go on those and just have like a week with my friends and stuff, hanging out outside of school.
Wonderful. Well, again, like I shared with Carly and I'll share with everyone, just know it really is an honor to have you here and that we'll be rooting for you from home. We wish you the very best and we're excited for your future and we'll give that to you. And please introduce who's here with you tonight.
Yeah, so I have my sister over there and then my mom and dad.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for
Mhm.
being here. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you all. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Om? I'm hoping I said that correctly.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. This time. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. And if you would introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you went to school and
Yeah.
even where you're going to college and if you
Yeah.
know what you're doing. So come
Yeah.
on.
Hi, my name's Om. I went to Lamont High School and I'm going to be going to University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign studying computer science.
Okay, wonderful. A favorite maybe memory or experience in high school?
Throughout high school, my favorite like sport that I was in, I played tennis, which was a lot of fun. So that's definitely my favorite thing that I did throughout high school.
You just watched Wimbledon?
Yeah, I
Okay,
did.
oh, I
Mhm.
figured you might. Wow, very interesting. Maybe we'll see you someday on the Wimbledon court. I don't know. But anyway, well, we wish you the very best. We're so excited for you and we appreciate, how your hard work. I can tell you, I remember every applicant that I read through was just stellar and I remember reading yours as well. So appreciate that very much for your being a good student, but not only that, far beyond and all the other things that you do and living in Woodridge and really helping Woodridge, I think, be part of just a great community and just know how much that means to all of us. So appreciate that. So this is for you. And if you would introduce, I know you've got your parents here with you tonight.
Yeah, my parents are back there.
Would you, maybe their names or?
Yeah, Dilip Patel back there and then Rashmi.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for being here very much and congratulations.
Thank you
to
so
All right,
much.
thank you. Take care. Owen? I wondered if you were up here. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. I walked by and thinking, I'm looking for students. And he was like, how are you?
Good,
Good,
good.
And I'm sure you know the drill by now,
yes,
right here in the
yes,
front row. So
um,
so nice to have you here.
Yes, I'm Owen. I went to Downers Grove North High School. I'm going to Kent State next year to study zoology and run cross country and track.
Favorite memory? or
Um,
experience?
Well, obviously, I ran cross country in high school too, and this year we ended up winning state, and that was just fun to be able to do it with my teammates. And those guys are my brothers, so that was a great time. A lot of
Wonderful.
fun.
I did see that. So I graduated from Downers Grove North myself, but we don't need to talk about what year that was. But anyway, we're very excited for you and thank you for your achievements throughout your high school education. We know it's going to continue on when you're in college and far beyond that. So please know, again, we're rooting for you here from home and please let us know who's here with you tonight.
Yeah, a lot of my family, both of my
Program.
grandmas are here.
Nice.
My mom, my dad, and my uncles.
Okay, very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you all for being here. Again, it was a pleasure meeting you. This is for you and we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Yes, thank you very much. And Ryan Gustus. I told Ryan he had an easy job knowing well the questions and everything. And so Ryan, please introduce yourself and, kind of.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Gustis. I also went to Downers Grove North. Next year, I'm going to be going to Miami of Ohio, studying a couple business degrees. So I'm going to be studying finance and accounting as well as business analytics eventually for my master's degree. A favorite experience maybe through high school was honestly just meeting so many new people, especially going to North from Woodridge. Obviously, I've lived in Woodridge my whole life. So going to Downers Grove, meeting a lot of new people, as well as my favorite maybe single experience was being able to host an event at the school my senior year for my nonprofit organization.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit about that for those of us who don't know or recognize Ryan from when he was much younger?
Yes. So when I was 9, I started the Backpack Project, and we do backpacks with necessities for people who are homeless and mostly living on the street, facing pretty extreme homelessness, not in shelters and things like that. So I've known Gina Cunningham since 5th grade when you were at Meadowview.
Wait, I didn't attend then, but yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I was visiting. And how old were you then?
9 when I started. I think when we were together at Meadowview, 10.
I think you were 10.
Yeah.
You had just turned 10, I
Yeah.
believe, mom and dad. I think that was.
Oh yeah, my family is starting kind of in the middle. On the left is my sister Claire, then my mom Melissa, and my dad Steve.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we congratulate you. We've known you a long time and so proud of you. And you're probably one of the reasons why I don't vote because it wouldn't be fair. But honestly, stellar. Like all of our students here tonight, I wish we had an endless amount to give because it it would be easy for us to do. The applications that came through from the students are stellar, just like you. And I love saying this part though, from all of us, how proud we are and that we're rooting for you. The whole community is rooting for you and all of our students. So congratulations
so
to
much.
you. Absolutely. That's for you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Take care. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, the young gentleman that is not able to be here tonight because he's working. And I was surprised because I got a little note handed to me saying this was just dropped off for you. And it is from Gavison Bear. And he wrote, "Hello, this is Gavison. Thank you so much for choosing me to receive your scholarship program award. I'm sorry that I have to work tonight and cannot be there in person to say thank you. I have been concerned about how to afford going to college. Your support in this helps me so much, and it's tremendous. I am so excited, to go to Baylor University. Hold on, he wrote somewhere here. I'm leaving next month and to begin my studies in international business. Thank you again for helping me. Please know how much this means. It'll be able to help me move forward in my life. Sincerely, Gavison Bear." So I wanted to share that with everyone. We'll hold on to his check until we see him, but let's give him a round of applause as well. And thank you, everyone.
If we could have the students come back up, we're going to get a picture up right at the dais here. If all the students can come back up. One more time, we'll get a group photo. Thank you.
Anyone would like, board members, if you'd like to come in the picture as well?
I'm gonna be taking a picture, okay? So you know where to look. All right, we're gonna take one vertical and one horizontal, so hold your pose. Okay, ready? Thank you. Wonderful. Congratulations.
We also have 2 additional grants that we issue. These are honorary grants. One would be to the Woodridge Park District's Golden Years program for our seniors. And then also DuPage Senior Citizens Council. They serve all of our seniors throughout Woodridge, and it is our honor to help them in some way. And as part of our scholarship and grant program, those are the 2 that were selected this year. So thank you very much. I wanted to note that. And we're going to now start for our regular meeting. And if anyone would like it, this might be a time if you're either going out to dinner now with your family or something to celebrate, this is a good time. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and proceed, okay? But we'll give it a minute. So thank you all very much for being here. Take care. Bye-bye. Congratulations again, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. So we'll start with our comments from the public this evening. We're going to pause to acknowledge any written public comments that have been received prior to the meeting that do not relate to tonight's agenda. And if so, we would enter those into the public record. Administrator Stonich, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First one is Viviana Fontalvo. Next, Nick Sloan. Another from Brian Gould. Dina Tufo, or Dina Matthews, excuse me, Dina Matthews. Veda Grant. And that concludes the written comments.
Thank you very much. So those comments are already shared with all of us on the village board and the village itself. So we just wanted to make sure to note that they are a part of our public record. Now we will move on to ask anyone here this evening in the audience that would like to address the village board on items that are not related to tonight's agenda. And if so, we would invite you to the podium. Okay, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to now, going to see and take note if there anyone who would like to speak tonight on the proposed electronic bicycle and scooter ordinance. We're going to have an opportunity a little bit later in the meeting as we get closer to that topic item. So we just want to make note of that. And if you wish to make a public comment to the village board, and we'll be doing that shortly, we would ask that you would take a moment and fill out a comment card. And then also know we'll call you up, but we'll also open it up to the floor as well, okay? So any public comments that are written that have been received prior to the meeting regarding the proposed bike scooter ordinance, we will also acknowledge those and enter them into the public record at that same time. So I thank you for your understanding. Aside from the proposed e-bike and e-scooter ordinances, are there any members of the public here this evening wishing to make a comment on any item appearing on tonight's agenda? If anyone is wanting to make a public comment? Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward. Again, thank you for being here. Now going to ask if we can acknowledge any written public comments that have been received prior to tonight's meeting that relate to any item on tonight's agenda. And if so, please enter those into the public record. So to clarify, this would be any other agenda item aside from the proposed e-bike, e-scooter ordinance. Administrator Stonich?
Thank you, Mayor. We have not received any written comments.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and move to our omnibus this evening. Going to ask, please, for, let's see here. Nothing else, just A through D. Okay. So I'm going to ask for our administrator to read those items, and then I'm going to ask for a motion.
Sure, we have items A through D, Mayor. First item A, Resolution 2025-72. Is to adopt the annual financial reports for the village and the auditor's management letter to the mayor and board of trustees for calendar year ending December 31st, 2024. Item B, accounts payable registers for 2025. This will be for June 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, as well as July 2nd and July 11th. And the credit card registers for April and the electronic wire transfers for July. Items C and D are the prior board meeting minutes. Thank you.
So as presented, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve items A through D as presented by Administrator Stonish.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Page. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Kagan. Any need to have any items separately considered? Seeing none, if our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Kagan,
Aye.
Trustee Annalise,
Aye.
Trustee Nickelver,
Aye.
Trustee Page,
Aye.
Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Under our presentation of communications and correspondence under the mayor's report, I'm going to skip my report this evening and I will pick up next time. There's quite a few that we would like to thank, and we will be doing so. We have done that in e-news already, but I would personally like to follow up and thank everyone at our next meeting. Administrator Stonich, your report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First item A is a update to the board on the design progress for the new Public Works building. Our Public Works Director, Christopher Bethel, is here to present.
Good evening.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor and Board. So we're coming back before you tonight. We were here back in November of 24 and then January 16th of 2025, just as we kind of continue to move through the design on the building. I do want to reintroduce kind of the non-staff members of the team. We have Mark Rogers, who you've known for probably over 5 years at this point. If Chris Giacalone can give a wave. Chris also works for CCS, and so he's joined us on this project, and he's helping to lead the Village Hall roof and HVAC work as well. And then we have Samantha Frantic and Chris Hansen from Kluber Architects. So it gets confusing when we're in a meeting. We got three Chris's that are all in there in terms of who we're talking to. So from the last meeting, we were finishing up the concept design phase. We laid out a general plan, options for alternatives, and really what came out of that is the ultimate budget number that we were designing to. So this is the agenda of what we're going to cover tonight, so we can continue moving into design development and then construction drawings. This is the agenda item, but I wanted to kind of give 4 themes that we're trying to cover: functionality versus aesthetics, current needs versus future flexibility, flow through the building, and then integration and flow through the campus. And so jokingly, we had talked tonight's it's a thick PowerPoint. We will skip through some of those slides. Some of them are multiple views on different massings, but tonight is really a critical juncture, because once you get through schematic design, you are really pretty much locking in your design. You may make some tweaks to it, but this is kind of a big fork in the road when we continue to move forward, that this is what the architect is going to continue to build from. A couple of introductory slides here just on the schedule, kind of showing you where we are. This is essentially the same schedule we looked at when we were before you in January. Kind of a different view on it. You've seen this one. We continue to kind of work our way down the stair step here, continuing to finish off schematic design and then getting into design development as well, and kind of how we move to construction documentation and bidding. And then kind of continuing down that track here, just the timelines that we're generally looking at. That pre-qualification on the GC, you want to do that in close proximity to the actual bidding. So those two kind of get tied together depending on how the timing plays out. One of the other really important items that we're trying to get through tonight is on the massing and the aesthetics and the building layout, to kind of lock some things in so we can start the plan commission process. So obviously we're already into July. When you're talking about bidding in January, let's say, we have a very tight window. So the question is probably, how are we going to meet that window? So I think a picture here probably tells the story. Building design and construction normally works in a linear fashion, and it's almost a relay race. You finish a phase, you hand it off to the next. That's not at all what we're doing. We are moving pretty much everything through simultaneously. So we may be in schematic design, but we are actually doing work that is already into the bidding documents. We are selecting equipment. We are visiting vendors. We are pretty much trying to get this put together. So we have a little bit more cushion as we continue to move forward for anything unexpected that may pop up. Just revisiting again, kind of our starting point. This is the 2021 concept plan, what we're still working off of. This is another view. It's going to look very similar to what you saw in January. The difference here is, again, we're going to get into the details here, is the building layout and some of the functionality and spacing has changed. But again, pretty much still the same concept and plan here as we get into finishing schematic. So one thing I wanted to kind of just explain of how we got here, and as we get into some of the details of the building, is so we had multiple meetings and really involving everybody in the department. We had meetings with Kluber and CCS and supervisors. Supervisors had meetings with their crews. We had non-supervisory staff in there. We were posting these designs every time they changed throughout the building. People are throwing Post-it notes on it. They're making notes. We're taking it back, digesting that information, drawing up concepts, brainstorming, and kind of like shampoo, we're rinsing and repeating there to get to where we are tonight. I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on the garage operations as an example, and how far we've gone. And it's probably one of the more complex areas, but what we did is we inventoried everything we have and everything we need. It's the specifications, it's actually citations, so Kluber can pull up and know exactly what we're looking at. Does it need to be plugged in? Do you need to buy it? Do you need to move it from the current building? We laid out the power drops, air drops, water drops, fluid drops. The fluids are complex. We had to look at multiple grades of oil, hydraulic fluid, washer fluid, antifreeze, DEF for the diesel trucks. How much are we using? How much are we storing? When are we reordering it? Is it the most efficient way when we're reordering it? What ideally would we keep on site if we had the space? What are we doing with waste on those products? How is a truck going to get in to get that waste product out? Vehicle exhaust reels, where are they staged? What kind of retraction unit? What size are the exhaust? Vehicle lifts, the list kind of goes on and on. That's how far we are into the design to really be able to keep things moving forward. So this is kind of, and what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of zoom into each area, kind of talking about the layout, talking what's changed, and kind of how we've tried to build in some future flexibility and flow with it. The first two will be a little bit longer, the kind of the pink and the blue, because we spent the most time there. The other colors are going to move a little bit quicker. So kind of starting here in the administrative wing. And I think one thing we heard kind of in November and January was just the building kind of seems tight. Is this really enough space? And so we tried to kind of take a step back. And what I'm going to really do is kind of just walk through the flow of the building. So F1 is kind of the entrance there, the airlock vestibule as you come into the building, and you would go into A12, which is the waiting area. We trying to kind of analyze who comes into our building. Most of the time it's people, they've got a one-on-one meeting. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to a conference room. So for security purposes, we can buzz them from that front desk reception area into the conference room. You would have to swipe out in order to get to the rest of the building. So it helps to kind of automate and secure that setup. A13, as many of you know, we've kind of taken over a part of the old PD building, and what we're trying to do is implement in real life things we think would work in the building to test them out and see what can we learn. This is something we did in the old reception area of PD and kind of set up, we call it our roll call room, but that's where we handle kind of classroom training, and it's been phenomenal in terms of working with the staff. So similar to the PD, the tables and chairs are all on wheels. You can reconfigure the room for different purposes, but we could also use this as a training area for the staff. One of the things we looked at, A15, it was a file storage area. It was larger last time. We shrank that down. We enlarged some other areas to put file storage kind of in the areas where work is happening. The other thing we did is we sized A15 that it could always become a future office down the road to provide some additional flexibility. Looking at A8, originally in the last plan, this was actually 2 future offices. We actually thought, you know what, it makes a lot more sense. Let's leave that as a conference room right now, but you'll kind of notice the alignment of the doors, and what we'll do is we'll put a header in place, we'll put appropriate sprinkler spacing on both sides, so you could throw up a wall in the future and it could become 2 separate offices. A little bit larger conference room, closer to kind of the foreman area that we'll circle back to in a second. They're most likely to use it. A11 and A14 are probably the 2 areas that grew the most here in terms of how they function. And so we've got 3 individuals up in that reception administrative support area. There's a lot of billing, AP work that goes on there. Lots of times the foreman, other staff are kind of working on project codes billing. So there's some guest chairs that are kind of shown there as well. That 4th slot during emergency events, heavy snow events, sometimes we'll have a 4th person helping to answer calls. Also a great opportunity to put someone up there for light duty purposes if necessary. We enlarged A14 to make it wider. That way we could actually put file cabinets in the middle. It's also an additional laydown area that they could work on top of. We used to have a door, an opening leading A11 down to A14. You lost a lot of workable space doing that. So what we did is we added a door there kind of by where you got the main door leading out to the lobby. We want the A11 directly across from kind of what's in the top section. You got the engineers, director, assistant director, et cetera. That's kind of where they do primarily their support. You remember before we had a little enclave, like a little bump in, and it created additional windows for a lot of those offices. straight lines are easier to construct, which means they're cheaper to construct. And so what we did is we said, let's straighten that out. It actually moves the wall out a little bit, which allows A3 to actually become an office as well as A5, as opposed to just kind of empty space. Some offices do lose windows, but you create additional offices on kind of both wings there, and all the other offices enlarge a little bit. We had kind of a, down in A18, you kind of see the centralized collaboration area. We had that up in the top area. We don't really work that way necessarily. So what we did is we kind of had a small conference room, plan file storage in the middle. Again, could be used as a collaboration area where you can spread items out in the top. Since the plan that we talked about before, we actually have filled that third engineering position. So we do have that reflected in here. And then A10, we used to have workstations out in the middle where that file storage is. We thought, let's take down the wall. That's an area where our GIS contractual employee can work. We used to have an engineering intern can work there. Light duty employee can work there. Moving down below to kind of the foreman area. So this is kind of the operational supervisors in the department. They do collaborate every morning, planning for the day, who's out, how do we share staff members, so that the gathering area works really well right there. We used to have all of the foremen. There are 5 of them here. One of them is our garage foreman. So we went back and forth. Do we want him up here collaborating with the other foreman? Are we better off having him in the garage? Should he have 2 offices? And we moved him to the garage. It freed up a space here so we could actually create kind of snow command, a mini emergency operations center. Also can serve as kind of a conference room or a light duty area. The water plant operator, he actually used to be located off-site at the water tower south of 75th Street. Again, when we moved to the PD, we brought him into the building to kind of establish, again, we've had transition, a new water foreman. He and the water foreman's offices are right next to each other now. It's been a great setup. But because that foreman group can have some confidential supervisory type discussions, you'll notice we orientated that water plant operator door out to the hallway as opposed to into the corridor with the balance of the staff there. Any questions on the pink? Otherwise, I'll move down to employee support here.
Any more questions at this time?
So this is the other area that that grew, and so I'll kind of walk through. B3 there, starting at the top, kind of on the right-hand block, is a unisex locker room. B10 is a wellness room, kind of multifunctional as far as a nursing mother. Sometimes we have staff, they're here late, they don't want to drive home. Right now they're sleeping in their car. It's a place they could sleep. Quiet place in terms of a person on a break as well that they could use. We spent a lot of time on kind of the bathroom facilities and locker rooms, and we kind of came up with this orientation, which is very similar for men's and women. And what you've got, you can kind of see F2 on both sides. That's kind of just the staff bathrooms, urinals, stalls, sinks, but it's set up with a separate swipe into the locker room. So if we're hosting trainings in the lunch and training area, guests from outside of the village, they can use that, but they can't actually get to the locker room area. So you can kind of secure them out of that. And then we've got lockers, obviously, for both men's and women's, larger for full-time, smaller for seasonal civil engineer staffers as well. And we spent a lot of time, the police department just really, truly did a phenomenal job. The logic upon how they've laid out their operations in the building is really kind of flawless. So we've tried to really kind of take a lesson from that and spend a lot of time on it. So if you can imagine, the green is the garage area where the staff are going to be pulling in. They may be muddy in their cars coming back to the shop. First place they go is they can go to B11. This is going to be a wash down area. It faces and is connected out to the garage. They're going to get all the mud off of them. The next place they go, kind of walking into this isolated corridor area, is B4 laundry. They can drop things off. We don't want it connected to the garage because if it's clean, it's hanging, it can dry out for them without getting dirty again. Still might be wet. We don't want them going through the rest of the building. So we created a pass through in which they can get from that little hallway directly into the men's locker room. That orientation didn't necessarily work on the women's side. It's really what we were trying to do to have it similarly situated. We spent a lot of time talking about, how do people like to clean up and how do they like to use the facilities? And kind of the philosophy we settled on is there are private bathrooms in both men's and women's, and then there are private showers in the men's and women's. It's something the bathroom isn't in the shower, so you're not kind of taking up two functions at the same time, but it gives some privacy. We kind of talked about ratios. Again, Kluber, you remember, did the Aurora Public Works building, and they felt this ratio with having again the two showers in the men's was more than enough. You actually have one up in the unisex, so you got 3 showers that could be used by that group. Just to kind of note that F6 MDF, that's the main distribution facility. That's really your IT room, SCADA room. Everything is going to go in there. Jump into the other side of the hallway, so that we're on the west side of the building, closest to the PD. One of the things we did is we moved that fitness room, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, from kind of the far end as an alternate up to the north. And what we're going to do is talk about an alternate where it gets built, depending on cost, just remains a shell space. We don't actually build it out. The thought is you're better off having that constructed functional space in the core of the building instead of on the outside if you were to want to do something in the future. The other thing we did is we enlarged B5, the lunch and training room. You got 40 people on the north side, 24 on the south, so 65. So again, if we have 33 full-time staff members, as well as 15 seasonals, we can comfortably sit in there. If we're hosting a larger training, we can do that. A dividable partition, so on that south end, you'd still have 24 that are next to the kitchenette and vending, and so you're not going to interrupt lunch for the balance of the staff. Kind of in that hallway, A9, the workstation, we got some training carrels there, mailboxes. Again, we really love what the police department did with kind of those breakout areas in the hallway. And again, our staff aren't necessarily in the building as much, but we thought it was important to include a couple of those there, as well as people who may not want to eat with the group, but still be close to the lunch area. That outdoor patio we're going to talk about later. It's something that we wanted to include as an alternate. There's a lot of grading work on the south end of the building, which is, again, why moving that fitness room to the north, it's going to make it easier to figure out how do we connect the edge of the building, this space, and then the parking lot as the topography changes. Any questions on that? Okay. Those are going to be, again, the longest slides, I promise. And again, we're jumping back to this slide because I want to reorientate you. So now we're going to look at the yellow, which is the shop spaces. So kind of first on the left-hand block here, uniform storage, we always have PPE gear, hard hats, t-shirts, other items that we keep locked up in inventory to have a place for those. F12 mechanical, again, your feeds into the building, you always want to have that on an exterior, easily accessible. One of the changes we made, you recall last time, is we actually had the wash bay and the cold storage facility being built out into a shop for facilities. The more we talked about it, the more we decided we did not like that. We want to have everybody together in the building. How do we consolidate and kind of make these functions work within these spaces? The other nice thing is then it's about $150,000 allocation to remodel that area. That way we could take it off the table, leave it for storage, be it equipment, trucks, or materials. Sign shop and facilities, they're a little bit more unique. They do need air-conditioned space just based on the nature of your painting, your staining. Nothing's going to dry if it's hot and humid in the sign shop. In order to get those materials to adhere, again, you need a conditioned space. They're also the two easiest that without the exterior garage door access, it's to the outside of the building. They still have garage door access into the main garage that they can make that function. The other shops on the other side, again, we spent time, these are actual layouts of things with workbenches on wheels. Where would cabinets be laid out? How can you align an exterior door with an interior door that if you wanted to pull a truck all the way through into the main garage, how would you actually make that function? Make that function. Okay, into fleet maintenance, similar to what we have now, 3 mechanics bays. And so again, we spent some time, we orientated those lifts, so you got flat storage and work areas behind there. You could have a car on a lift. Squad car has a broken wiper. They can pull in. There's still an area where you can do work without necessarily impacting what's happening there. All the mechanics' tool chests and equipment is going to be at the front head end. We've, again, already visited sites. Kluber gave us a great deal of helpful information to actually evaluate that based on our equipment and vehicles, how we use them, that these are the lifts that we would spec out in terms of size, weight requirements, et cetera. E7 auto parts storage, E5 fluids. We are literally laying out the equipment we would buy, our tire mounting machine, our tire balancing machine. What size is it? Where is it going to fit? And how are we going to align it in here? We keep all of our vehicle inventory underneath lock and key. So same thing here, auto parts storage is locked. We originally had it in a cage. Problem is it's a dirty element environment. And so a lot of those parts, you want to keep them clean. So that would actually be a walled off area. We kind of show the placement of the elevator. We put it here. It's a freight elevator. Tires, heavy things can be stored up top. The mechanics are probably going to be using that the bulk of the time. It's rare, but sometimes we may have a large truck towed in that would need to go on that large lift, especially if it's filled with salt. So what can happen is you can pull in, you'll notice that there's a door that then goes into the main garage, and then they could actually pull all the way through. Up on the north end, 3 shared offices for the 3 mechanics, and then the garage foreman's office is up there as well. We've even gotten to the level of the large lift is on the far south end, so line of sight for the foreman and the mechanics. They can see all the way down just for safety and operation and management reasons of the staff that are there. And this is the wash bay, just located just north of the mechanics fleet maintenance area. You'll see kind of in what would be the middle, a long rectangular dash line that actually represents the size of our largest truck with our largest trailer. So we know it's going to fit in the wash bay area. Catwalks on either side, so you can climb up in terms of lifting dump beds and washing them down. One of the things we're looking at, we'll have to kind of get into it further in DD and cost, is having some type of an underbody washing unit. So again, in terms of mud, and really in the winter was snow and ice and salt, you're going to be able to wash that material off in order to extend the life of those vehicles. Reorientation here. We're going to be back in the green area. Again, this has essentially stayed the same. We've started to, and again, angled parking, great, much safer, much more efficient. You're not blocking people in. You have some, in essence, some wasted space, some of those triangles on the top and bottom. So we tried to start to identify what would we put in those areas. How do we work in the winter when a blade breaks on a snowplow? Northern end of the garage on what would be the right-hand drive aisle, we've identified a place. This is where snow blades, snowshoes are going to go. A truck can pull in, all the necessary equipment, pneumatic tools would be there. Take it off, put it back on, leave without having to impact the mechanics. All right, so I'm going to take a drink of water, but that's the inside of the building. So if there's some comments or any questions on the inside before we move to the outside.
Thank you, Director Bethel. Any questions at this time for Director Bethel?
No. Great. So shouldn't have taken the drink of water. So we're going to go through these exterior renderings looking for feedback. And so when we get to the end, we're going to be going through some of these again a little bit further. There's no green. We heard you loud and clear last time. We had some green highlights and elements, blue on the police. We were looking at green here. That wasn't necessarily something that came out positively. We've changed some of the coloring. What's great is you think Crayola has a lot of shades of color. Kluber can hit any color we want. And so we can start to dial down, dial up the intensities on anything you see on the screen in order to kind of find something that you like. And so as I go through these massings, colors, patterns, elevations, what it looks like to you, the emotions it invokes in you, again, that's what we're looking for to see if we're starting to hit what it is you feel that this building should be. So here we're on the northwest corner. So this is kind of what you would see as you're coming up to the building and coming in as far as a member of the public. This one is from the north looking south in terms of, and we're gonna have a little more detailed one to kind of show you something related to these elevations here as well. This one is again from the north looking south, but you can see kind of the garage door areas, the gate location that'll separate public and staff areas, wash bay. This is the northeast corner of the building. So again, kind of that fleet maintenance with the 3 bays, the wash bay there as well. And then this is on the south side of the building looking north. So where we see generator and kind of that green kind of half moon coming around there, just kind of take a mental note of that. We're going to talk about that further in a little bit. So just on the massing, is there anything, does anybody say, we don't like these colors, we don't like these patterns, want some time to digest, anything you want to kind of share at first glance? Again, we're going to have some more pictures later, so don't feel obligated if you're not at that point yet. Keep going. Again, we're not typically getting into this level of detail when you're not even done with SD yet, but trying to get this done so we can start that plan commission process is why we're at this level of feedback. But again, we're going to have some other renderings here a little bit further in. So we thought it was important just to kind of talk about program summary, and we're going to kind of go back in time on both this and the budget to talk about where we were and where we are. And so you can kind of see how the program has evolved by date there. Gosh, I did not notice we put an M on the bottom line. That my OCD that would drive me up the wall there on program where we knocked that M down. So you can kind of see how we've changed. You know, we were 81.5 down to 74 to 76 to 80 as far as where we are now. We're going to talk about the mezzanine in a little bit. That's gotten a little bit larger, and so we can go through that. And then the expanded garage, we're going to talk about, but that's something that we're not recommending that the village would want to pursue any further. So this is kind of high level aggregated data. And, you know, just to go back. And so 68,000 and some change there is where we're at on the new building base scope right now. And then you add the cold storage to it, which is how you're getting to that 80,500. So now we've kind of broken it down by those programmatic areas here, and you can kind of see where we were in concept program, where we are in sum total. Again, administration, employee support, those are the two areas that grew the most. Part of that is creating straight lines. Part of it was intentionally enlarging some of those areas just for functionality purposes. And again, you can kind of see total gross square footage and where we were in concept and where we are right now between the facility as well as cold storage. Okay, and so now importantly, we had wanted to get to budget here. So this is where, when we ended in January, it was 26.5 million. This was the base scope. These were the bid alternates in terms of kind of what we were designing to and what we were working from. And so again, kind of an SD budget update here. And we need to look at the bottom here where we've got some of the alternates and the SD anticipated cost of where we are now. No longer doing the cold storage. We've got a mezzanine with the elevator, and this is a full, even an expanded mezzanine that we've talked about, including the fitness room, not including the garage. We're going to talk about this glazed corridor spine and then the expanded police parking lot. You're still at 26.5, same cost, different elements. But what I want to do is go through what we're talking about as some of the alternates, maybe what staff and the team is recommending, and get some feedback if that's meeting the goals and desire of the board. So maybe any questions on kind of the large program scope and kind of where we are in cost. What we're going to do is when we get through the alternates, there's going to be another slide that actually breaks down, taking the staff recommendations, where does the cost end up at following those items kind of compared to where this slide is at.
Any questions from anyone at this time?
Good. Okay. Okay, so we want to kind of talk about cost and design considerations, and some are design elements. They're really more pure aesthetic, and some of them are functional. And what we're going to do is, and these are not to say that it's all inclusive, but we wanted to hit on the larger ones that had a cost impact. And so I'm going to go through kind of item by item here. I'm going to give you a picture and some details related to it, and then we're going to you can hear all of them, so you kind of get a idea of the big picture. And then at the end, we're going to circle back, and when you understand the big picture, kind of get some feedback on what you like and dislike. So the first item is the garage. You know, when we were before you last time, we really thought, and the board was very supportive of, build that big garage now as opposed to maybe down the road when you're looking for that expansion. It's going to be more expensive, and you're going to have to come back and kind of remobilize. I will say on this site, and the chief would probably attest to this, parking is at a premium on the site. It's at a premium right now, let alone when you kind of move all of the public works functions there. There's kind of a blow up on the right-hand side. You can see that little dashed line. That's what happens when you build that garage. That's the footprint of the garage. You're cutting into existing parking on the PD. You're going to lose some additional spaces with turning radius coming in and out. And it really felt like we're shoving too much on the site in order to construct that as well. The other issue we're trying to be cautious about is this was based on a 70,000 square foot building when we went through that original PUD process. We're at 68,000. You build this building, you're going to be over the 70,000. We need to start to be very cautious about stormwater. We built it with some cushion, but we might be triggering some other stormwater requirements and costs that we had not contemplated in the budget. And so we tried to think about, well, what else can we do now and in the future to kind of have some cushion and ability to quote unquote expand on the site if there is additional vehicles. So one of the things is, and you see 6 staff in the middle. We had said, in between these 2 doors, based on the turning radiuses, I wouldn't put staff vehicles there. I wouldn't want personal vehicles in the middle of our operations, but you could fit 6 village vehicles of some type there and gather some additional parking. Right off to the right, kind of where I had said take a mental snapshot near the generator, a great idea that Chris Giacalone from CCS came up with is you could actually pave that out, put in some striping, and it could kind of be a laydown area. This is vehicles, you're waiting for parts to come in, they're going to auction, they've come to us, but they haven't necessarily been outfitted yet. You wouldn't want them daily coming in and out of there, just with turning radius coming around the building, going into the garage, but it's a place that you could actually store some additional vehicles as well. We're going to talk a little bit more with the mezzanine. It might free up an additional space in those vehicle counts and where we place them in the garage. The mechanics have a pickup truck for service out in the field. Right now it's parked in the garage area. Remember, we have that flat space in between the lifts. That truck could actually go back there. You free up a slot as well. You're not building out cold storage, so the wash bay could actually be used for some indoor storage. The other thing is these aisles are 30 feet wide, so you can't actually park a vehicle there. You're still going to be angle parking, and you're going to be able to pull most vehicles in and out, and you can still get that pass through. So you've got some other flexibility built in the building. But again, when the garage expansion cost was about $2 million and kind of the impacts it might have, it was something that we really felt it probably did not make sense on this site. Is there a preference? Do you want to talk about options or alternates each one, or do you want me to kind of get through the 7 or 8 of them and then we can kind of circle back based on dollars, square footage, and the whole picture and kind of talk about feedback at that point?
I'm thinking maybe go through them and then we'll come back.
Okay.
If that's okay with everyone.
So the next one was mezzanine. And so when we kind of came to that conclusion, you can't expand or should not expand the garage, in our opinion, can we get some additional storage space? Now, it's not vehicles, but it is additional storage space. And so just kind of a nature of as the building was realigned is how we moved from 4,400 feet for that original mezzanine to 5,300 now. You can see it in blue there. There are some code requirements in terms of where stairs are placed based on the size of the mezzanine to allow for emergency escape. So you'll see there's a set of stairs in the middle. Downside is you actually lose a parking spot. Then you got a set of stairs on the far north end. There may be some logic as far as a bid alternate in order to actually look at the purple area where you expand that mezzanine to the south. Again, You'd get into the details in DD, but you can take that set of stairs that are in the middle, you move those stairs to the south in front of the shop, you free up an additional parking space in the garage. We need to make sure, again, access to that south shop is still unencumbered, but it's something that, again, you add some additional storage, you have a freight elevator, you can forklift stuff up there. So we definitely don't need 7,900 square feet of mezzanine storage space now. I can't necessarily speak to the future in terms of whether or not that might be necessary. But again, our recommendation is blue is kind of the base. Purple becomes an add-all depending on the pricing that we get when you actually go out to bid. We talked a little bit about kind of, do you build the fitness room or do you just build this core shell essentially without any finishes? So I'm going to do rough numbers, and I'm going to ask Mark Rogers and Chris there in order to just jump in on me. So the average cost, and this is a rough number based at SD, it's about $228 a square foot. That room is 979 square feet. It's about $223,000 to build the room completely finished. If you are just building out the shell space, you knock out about $120,000. So you're really talking about $103,000 to build the shell space that could be used in the future for that 1,000 square feet. So just trying to explain square footage and costs and kind of the magnitude of that alternate. But we think building the space makes sense. What you do with it is kind of a future decision based on pricing. This one again, it's a little bit of feast or famine. On a normal day, you might have one or two vehicles. It is a 100% true every single time the PD holds training. There is not enough parking there. Not enough parking for the training attendees, not enough parking for guests that may be coming. Right now, they can park on that north access drive on the side, but once we're in operation, you have trucks and public going back and forth. That's not going to continue to be an alternative. So it's estimate about $275,000 for the police parking. Again, we really think this makes sense. Parking is at a premium already. Again, and I say police parking, and not that you may have, maybe you got an auxiliary snowplow driver, he's going to park down there and then walk up to the building, but you're not going to have sidewalk ADA access based on the elevations between kind of top of the hill and bottom of the hill. Okay, and this is kind of where we're getting into more of the architectural features. And I say architectural and aesthetic, but at the same time, I think one of the most common staff comments is we would love to have more light in the building. We're looking for design themes and elements of how do we tie the PD and Public Works together on the campus. The light spine that they built in that main corridor, the PD is, it's really one of the highlights of the building. And so what we want to do is give you a rendering here, obviously with the light spine, what it looks like from the exterior and what it looks like without it. If we don't get any feedback on any items tonight, but for this is the most critical. The Kluber really cannot do any more design because this is in the heart of the building. It impacts your HVAC, your electrical and everything. So it's something that that is one item that we really, we hope to get as much feedback on as many items as possible. This one is probably the most critical of all because it kind of holds everything to a standstill. The one thing again to share, and this is probably why the staff was not recommending it at this point. We'll get to budget in a second. It's about $832,000 for that light spine. So a lot of benefits. It's a great feature, I think, from an exterior look, from a staff impact, but we kind of, again, felt based on that dollar impact. That's our recommendation, understanding this may be something very important from an aesthetic. The other piece to maybe keep in mind, and we can kind of start to look at elevations later, is that the PD building is kind of front and center on Janes. We're behind that building. Some of the building is going to be hidden that you're not necessarily going to see that. The other element here, and we're going to have another view in a second, you can see that angled roof. Again, great architectural feature, looks very nice. And we're trying to balance. We're not trying to build a warehouse that has no character or heart to the community. We want to build something that's functional, that looks nice. But at the same, how do we do that in the most cost-effective way possible? And so we've got the fenestration here, which I'll say I had to Google. So that means the windows and doors on a building elevation is what that is. You can kind of see the angled roof here as well, and kind of that patio option we had talked about because of the way it faces. Again, we'd probably want to have it covered so people actually use it and they don't cook out there. Again, you could look at that and, maybe you can build the patio because you're going to have to do a retaining wall anyway, but maybe the covered piece doesn't happen. Again, when I was talking about a warehouse building, trying to give it some character, the awnings are a very cost-effective way in order to do that. So I think it's, again, do you like the character that things like the awning adds, the angled roof adds, or is it something that, again, we're trying to get down to more functions only? Okay. Now this slide is a little bit smaller and you had double slides in your packet. If you flip to the very last page of your packet, it's a full page of that slide. So you can kind of see it without straining eyes. So first column, 26.5. Again, that was that base budget leaving the January meeting. You can kind of see the elements that are included or not included. So now this is based on kind of what was recommended for each item. You've got the base cost here. So you can see what was, go down to anticipated project costs, kind of in that top block, third line from the bottom. It goes from 26.5 to 24.7 is kind of where you're at. And that would be no cold storage modification. You've got the base mezzanine, shell only in the fitness room, no expanded garage, no light spine, police parking lot, doing the patio roof and kind of some of those items that we had seen in the last slide. There's two ways to handle it, again, and we tried to show it both ways. You can kind of see if it goes to owner's contingency, you're still working from 26.5, but we're kind of just putting it up kind of below the line for the village, or if you're kind of reducing it and you're looking to design, and again, understanding you're designing then to a lower number, and that's what you're trying to shoot for. The third column here is, again, if we kind of look at those alternates a little bit different, no cold storage modification, do the larger mezzanine. This is the third column there. Finish off the fitness space, no expanded garage, no glazed spine. Again, police parking, awnings, patio, et cetera, you're at 25.3. So both options kind of keep you below. And again, there is an ability where you can add in that glazed spine, an option, base cost or base plus add alts, and you're still going to be below 26.5, but you start to, again, you got rid of you got the same cost, but you've changed some elements. And so it was something that we want to make sure we were bringing that back. One thing to note here too, so we're kind of working on big picture, higher level numbers, raw square footage costs. And so when you get to DD is when we're going to start to do a much deeper dive on those cost estimates, really start to refine things and make sure that both the core and base bid and alternates really feel like, okay, we have firm numbers that we're comfortable with, understanding that there's a lot of volatility in the market in just about everything.
Director Bethel,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? So getting back to and I see it on here, the glazed corridor spine, and it says not included. Is it in a budget number somewhere where I can find it, or?
So it's $853,000, not included in kind of as we're looking at those totals above. I'm going to jump to kind of the
Thank you, but I just was looking for it and.
So just a couple of additional reference slides. I want to show you again some additional, we kind of thought the glazed spine would be something that would want some extra thought. So here's a couple extra slides, some additional kind of massing perspectives in terms of what it looks like on the building, what it looks like at the entrance. And this is going to be similar to what you saw before. So these aren't necessarily items that we need to talk about, but what we've started doing is pre-identifying that we get into DD and then actually CD or bidding. Some of these things get harder. Each phase and step of the process, it gets harder to make a change. And not to say you can't do it, but it means Chris Hansen and Samantha are going to be spending the night in their office, and we're going to have to negotiate with a contractor to make some of these changes. So it's usually cheaper and more effective the sooner we can do it. But if we get into DD and we start to see some costs that are escalating, what are things that we can do? We've started kind of pre-identifying. Having an interior garage door where you can go from that yellow shop space into the green garage, very effective and helpful, especially if you got inclement weather. Maybe you got, you can load both ways, you can pull all the way through, but it's something where maybe not every shop has interior garage doors and exterior garage doors. Same thing, that drive-through door from fleet maintenance to the main garage, it makes sense. But maybe it's something that we pull that out. And again, it's you got to figure it out now in DD though, because it gets built into the precast panel wall. There's no going backwards on it. Once you make a decision, we're going to be stuck with it. That underbody washing unit, again, the staff right now are washing out trucks, washing under trucks. Not as effective, but again, it's a way to save money. Maybe there's a bathroom on the other side that we can eliminate. And then we also started looking at other things. Again, what we want to do is let's not impact the functionality. Let's not change the character of the building drastically, but what can we do? One thing we saw in walkthroughs of other public works buildings, the locker space, bathroom space was beat up and tired in every one. There was one that was not. It was in Elk Grove. And what did they do? They tiled the walls. It looked really nice and it held up and it did not look beat up. So that was something we thought, budget permitting, it makes sense to tile those walls and give them a longer life. But there are other alternatives. And so that's something, again, as we get into DD that we can modify. And precast panel, again, lots of different ways. And this is that other panel, or rather visual I was talking about, stone precast, brick precast, painted precast. What's the size? What's the type? How are they finished? That there are some alternatives there that can impact cost that we can get into DT. So trying to explain, we're trying to build as much flexibility into the design and the ability to bid and keep competitive costs wherever we go in the process. And it kind of comes back to this slide. So Mayor, if you'd like, I could kind of go through and look for feedback. We could kind of talk about again, that scope and breakdown by colored area, the program. We can kind of start talking about those alternates and design elements and budget impact. And C and D are really next steps, in terms of moving that PUD amendment forward, and then kind of the bidding and timing, assuming that we're staying on track with what we're working on here.
So there's a lot here, so I'm sorry I went right to the budget, and I do apologize for that, because that's not how I want to look at it, but just it was an item we were talking about and I saw that it wasn't on here, but I'm not really sure. What is everyone comfortable with?
Director Bethel, do you have a rendering from Jane's facing east without the light span? I saw the one with the light span. Do you have one without it?
So facing east, and and I apologize because I will say Mark Rogers, Chris Giacalone, and Chris Hansen included it when I was trying to thin out the presentation. I think that's one of them that I removed without it, but we have that. I can get it to you tomorrow to kind of show you what that looks like.
Because this one is facing south, correct?
This one is facing south,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd like to see the bottom right picture, but I like it to be west to east. Because you have one with the light span.
I take it back. Here you go. This
Okay.
is looking in that direction where you can see what you're going to have, that precast panel behind it, as opposed to that light spine running down.
What is the gray? It's just a flat.
I think that's just
See-
a precast panel. I don't know if it's stamped or colored. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to see with the light spine.
I think I saw one with the light span in the deck.
That's without, that's with, yeah.
That's with the light span, and then this one is without the light span.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks. Thank you.
Mark Rogers from CCS, for those who don't know me. But just so we're all aware too, the gray, and Chris Hansen just corrected or clarified it, that would be intended to be that mechanical, I'll call it screen. It's kind of a louvered type piece. It looks very finished, but it's a linear type piece. That's what that gray would be up on the screen right now. That would be replaced if you went with the spline with that glazing element, a glass that goes all the way across that essentially. So that's how they would screen the mechanical units that are behind that.
How would you screen the mechanics if we went with the light span?
It'd be behind the, let's see. Oh, now I'm going to ruin this and click it around. So you can see that gray is actually behind.
Oh, it's behind the.
Yeah, exactly. So that quarter piece would jut up to cover it all.
And Director Bethel, you asked about the color. Until I see it side by side with the color of the police station, I can't figure out if it makes the entire plaza there appealing.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. And maybe similarly, we can do kind of an elevation showing from Jane's with the PD, what's actually going to be visible behind it to give you a sense of how you may want to lay that out.
Trustee Angeles?
Dr. Bethel, with regard to that, when you get the pictures next to the PD, could you give us, or are there options in colors as opposed to what we're seeing right now? What the options are so we can see both together and then options.
And I think it's something that the world is really your oyster in terms of colors, patterns. And so and I know it's one of those, I'll know it when I see it. And so we can kind of play with things if that's the case too. Or if there's a pattern or color that you say, I would really like to see this, and Samantha's a whiz. I mean, she can pull that together in no time.
Dr. Bethel, so chatting with Mayor Cunningham, can we go back to the budget? I think just for clarity, we have the base budget at $26.5 million. If the board wished to pursue the glazed corridor spine, which is another $900,000, is that in addition to the 26.5? That would be on top of it?
It would. And again, understanding though that includes the expanded garage. So if you're taking the expanded garage out, which is $2 million, that's why really we kind of want to look in the light green with the base cost, assuming you're not doing the garage. Again, if you want to put, it would go from 24.8, you can add the 900,000 to that. And so then again, you get to 25.7 at that point.
If the board chose that, they would still be within the $26.5 million budget.
On the base cost and the base plus all the add-alts, you could do that light spine and you're still below the 26.5 in both scenarios.
Is it fair to say that everything at the bottom of that budget that we were looking at, you said use the middle column, and the only two things that are included are the parking lot and the roof and the awning, the patio?
And the mezzanine, the
purple mezzanine or the blue mezzanine?
The blue,
the smaller.
And by smaller, still slightly bigger than what we were looking at last time. And then you've got the fitness room shelled out there. It's built, but not necessarily finished. Again, that extra 120,000 kind of takes you into the next column. So again, there's flexibility in all these. You're still below the 26.5, no matter what options we're choosing. It's just kind of, again, what the feedback and preference and priority, was of the board.
And the roof awning was the slanted roof, above the offices.
And so that's something, and that's a great point, Trustee Page. There isn't a dollar figure we associated yet with the roof element. It's not that big of a dollar. A part of that comes back to the aesthetics and what you like. And do we want it in there? And again, as we get into DD, we can come up with what that cost differential is between the two. That one was probably more feedback of kind of the look and a way to save some money. Again, not as large as some of the other ones we were talking about.
Trustee Martinez, anything?
No specific questions. I just want to make sure that when we review this whole thing, we cover all the critical aspects that you need for this building and stay within the projected budget.
Director Bethel, what's the contingency? Because I remember that coming up with the police department.
Yeah, and so that one was a little different. And Mark Rogers, this is like, WWF. Sometimes you got to tag in your partner. It's going to be a little bit different in that we used a different bidding and construction methodology with the design build versus a GC here. But again, trying to have some owner's contingency set aside. It would be different in terms of kind of the items that come up, but still to have some dollars there. Again, we try to whittle, and that's kind of the side note here. The closer we get, and then once we're going into procurement, we want to have that contingency whittled down to 2 to 3%. And that's a great point, because when you're looking at the base budget of that 26.5, doing all of these things, including that expanded garage, that design contingency is probably a little lower right now than what we would like it based on where we are. Based on where we are in the process right now. That being said, we still have kind of the full dollar amount for site improvements. Again, we got to get through some of the site civil to understand some of the grading and impacts and utilities, but all the soil borings came back good. There's no structural issues. There's no CCDD disposal issues. So dollar wise, we've eliminated some potential liabilities and risks as we get through different pieces of the process.
If we could move back to, and I'm sorry, I want to be just sensitive to everyone's time here tonight, our general public that's here, but could we go to the next step screen? I know you hit, oh, thank you. That's it. And if we can guide through this, everyone, and kind of work through the, getting some feedback on these. So if you've got something like, for example, the garage expansion, and you're saying you're not recommending that, correct?
Yeah, just based on kind of the flow and layout of the site, that it felt really like we're trying to stuff too much onto the
Sure.
property.
So, okay. And is the board comfortable with that recommendation from, okay. Martinez? Go ahead. Yes, trustee Martinez?
Are you covering every item there?
Yes, we're going to try to go through each of these quickly.
Because I want to understand the bid contingent.
Okay, sure. Oh, the next one. Okay.
Do you want me to have Mark come up and we can talk about the contingency for a second, just so you have that background as we go through?
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
All right, so I'm actually going to pop back a few slides, so try not to get too dizzy here. Do apologize for this. This might help clarify it a little bit though. So this slide that you're looking at here that was stuffed in the middle was a slide with the SD anticipated cost. That middle column is assuming everything, all of the options that have been drawn is in the budget. So in other words, the spine, finishing out the fitness room to not just the walls, but actually to use the space, basically everything. And you're seeing that because we were not expanding the garage in this, it's the one thing that's not in there. We're not expanding the garage. We are still at the 26.5, and the owner's contingency, that line item went up from 520, let's call it, to 730, just round numbers. So we actually, we're still tracking on budget and we're growing that contingency. That's all in the positive direction. I think what the village and specifically Public Works has been doing is saying, okay, maybe we want to be a little bit, just because of market conditions, be a little bit more conservative than just having that little bit, which is where we started looking at all of the options that Chris has been going through to get to these two columns, which start pulling out a little bit more. So instead of that 730, I just mentioned, if we left the 26.5 with removing, just for simplicity's sake, the spine, so that's really the only difference there. Now we've got $1.6 million roughly of contingency. If we then go on and remove the, just looking at the chart here really quick, the shelled out space for the fitness room, and there's one other change that are missing right now, you're increasing the owner's contingency to 2.2. So we've got a healthy contingency with both recommended options that the Public Works Department is putting forward in the next step slide. And that's really the caveat here, that we're showing that in theory, we could probably bring down the overall anticipated project cost to below 26.5 if we're comfortable with the recommendations. But we probably want to find a good landing spot when we come back to you at the end of DD and have a detailed cost estimate of where that'll land. It'll be between that 24.7 and the 26.5. Oh no, I wrecked it. Sorry.
And so I think to your point, Trustee Martinez, I think that's something we're trying to be cognizant of is that no doubt there's going to be some volatility in copper costs, in other component costs that the contingency, we wanted to make sure that it was sufficient, that we would not exceed that number in any scenario.
Anyone else have any questions on the contingency parts? Yes, Trustee
Well,
Martinez.
maybe I didn't listen, but what is the amount of dollars included for contingency right now?
Well, I think that dollar fluctuates depending on what option we're picking. So depending on what alternative, if 26.5 is the denominator that we use in any scenario, depending on the alternates you pick is where you can kind of see here how it grew from 519 to 728 if we're using those, those alternates underneath SD anticipated cost. And I should put these two slides next to each other. Here is, again, we pick base cost or base plus add alts. That contingency, base, it's 500, 2.2 in the second column, 1.6 in the third column. So if 26.5 is the denominator, again, any scenario, or maybe it's a different aggregation of options you want to pick, we can kind of put that together and calculate and show here's what's left over from there. That gives you some flexibility to work with.
So looking at the list, I'm going to ask my fellow board members, anything on here that you either disagree with a recommendation or have questions about? So the mezzanine base, which is recommended. Any questions on that from anyone? Concerns?
Madam Mayor, I have a question regarding this slide. I just want to make sure that when you went through this and you're saying not recommended versus recommended, you went through your wants and needs, wants versus your needs. So the needs are all taken care of.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
wants and needs. So like the fitness room space, again, I think we're trying to maybe hedge our bets and say bid contingent, where's the overall cost? But I will say like the fitness room, light into the building and the fitness room were probably two of the main items that the staff really probably had the most feedback on. I think, again, something in the PD, there's a lot of light, there's a fitness area. I think that that's what they saw and what we saw in other buildings that they really liked. So again, I think fitness room, it's definitely a want. But again, we wanted to say, what are the overall numbers and are we hitting it? The outdoor eating area, definitely something all the staff really wanted. But again, I think we had to say, where are the numbers coming in? Because it is a want, it's not a need. It's not critical to the functionality of the department. Certainly a human element that it makes it a better workplace, some more amenities. So maybe it does become, a need versus a want. There's a little bit of, in the eye of the beholder there of where it falls. So, and that's why that slide where it said, here's all these other things we can do with doors and underbody washing. We think they're all important. And those are really, we think needs, but understanding sometimes you got to make critical decisions if you're building a home or a building and that I really need this, but at the end of the day, I can't afford it or it doesn't make sense. I need to cut it out. So we're trying to hedge our bets on as many items as we can to give that flexibility and make sure we don't exceed the cost, as Trustee Martinez was noting.
So if I might, I think just from how I'm looking at this, so being very budget conscious, we can't say that enough, right? But however, like let's take the fitness room, for example. You're recommending the shell, but really, couldn't we look at the full build out bid contingent? Just look at it. Let's prepare for it and let's see where it comes in at.
And part of the reason we wanted to raise the fitness room, even though you're really talking about like 100,000 differential between those two, is the last time we were before you, we said, let's put it on the end. We can make it an alternate. We can just chop it off. So we've kind of changed what we're presenting, which is why we wanted to highlight it. Again, you get to square off the building. If you're not building that expanded garage and this is your footprint for the rest of the days of this building, it makes sense. You square it off and you create that space. But we changed what we brought to you last time, which is why we wanted to highlight it here, that it was no longer an alternate. It's in the bid to, you're going to be building this space. What you do with it may change.
And then regarding the glazed light spine, I know you have not recommended on here. However, it sounds like the feedback you're receiving from the employees is that they would like something like that to be, the building to be much lighter, natural light, et cetera.
I think it would be,
Trying to speak for them.
yeah,
just
I think it would be
making sure.
safe to say it would probably change the interior character of the building. I don't know, Chris Hansen, from an architectural perspective, he can probably speak with a little more authority to
Yes.
kind of the impact it has.
You have to do a spine that's, what we're talking here. Is there a way to modify that? I not knowing, haven't built a building in quite a while, so I don't know. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there some other option or is this really the best option? And we just need to consider it.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Chris Hansen from Kluber Architects. Nice to see you all again. We evaluated the light spine simply because of, as Director Bethel said, the feedback from the staff about trying to maintain and bring in as much light to the interior core areas of the building. Our easiest way to do that is to emulate something very similar to what was done on the police department. Not necessarily a literal interpretation, but one that would make sense for the way the building was designed. Fortunately, we have an opportunity with how we compacted the plan to create a very long linear spine to allow that to occur from one end of the administrative core all the way down to the southern end of the building. So this opportunity was a fantastic opportunity to add that daylight into the building. The added benefit to that bump up to bring in that clear story glazing is we also need to screen the mechanical equipment that supports all of these areas of the building. Because the light spine is tall enough, we're able to eliminate the mechanical screening that you saw in the base option, because that light spine now also acts as that screen wall for the equipment behind, with the added benefit of bringing the daylight into the interior of the building as the staff was asking about. And as we started looking at the value of that from a cost perspective, although it is more expensive and we were very cognizant about the maximum budget, I think the team came up with this, and our design team came up with the light spine as a reaction to what we heard from the team, the staff. And this is obviously, Director Bethel mentioned earlier, this is the one component, if we make no other decision tonight, that we need a decision on, because we cannot go forward unless we know which way we're going to go, because it does impact how we draw and develop the drawings from here on out, because it gets much more complex to try and back it out. Our recommendation would be to include the light spine as part of the base work of the building. We do believe it's going to add a tremendous impact, not only from a recruiting standpoint, but just from the overall perspective of the daylight and what that brings to the interior spaces and the feel that the staff is going to have when they come to work in this building every day.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much. Trustee Angeles?
With regard to the light spine, it will eliminate the need for the screen. So the 850, is that 850 with just the light spine, or what would be the savings when taking out the screen?
The screen savings was already accounted for, because we're only removing the screening on the west facade, which would be running parallel with that light spine. So the delta is the difference that you've received. We've already taken that into account.
Does the light spine bring light into the garage, or is it just for the administrative offices?
So the light spine itself is primarily for the corridor area that feeds into all the administrative areas, as well as the areas for the support spaces for staff. Separate and independently, we do have clear story windows punched into the precast as well to allow natural daylight into the garage, Plus, by code, we're required to also bring in skylights into the garage areas now as well. So there will be daylight as well in the garage spaces.
Do the majority of the employees work in the garage or do they work in the administrative offices?
And so most of the employees are really they're out in the field, as opposed to if you're looking at kind of the operations staff. I will say the mechanics who work in the garage are very excited about getting natural daylight in there. It actually makes it easier for them to do their job by having better lighting in there. So again, I mean, it's kind of like this room. I mean, you have windows everywhere, and it adds a certain character and element to it that's different. So certainly, and again, the buildings we toured where you see that natural light in the garage, it definitely changes it from being a garage versus something that again has a little more character to
And
it.
without the light spine, the way it's currently designed, there will be good light in the garage.
Kind of independent, right? The garage will have some natural light, irregardless of what we decide here. And so so you kind of have that. Let me go back a little further. You can kind of see the double doors that divide the building coming straight down there. You can now kind of orientate yourself in terms of kind of how you're illuminating maybe that entire area.
Is it fair to say the light spine would be the blue to the pink to the blue down that hallway?
Top to bottom, on the west side of this plan, from the
Okay.
double doors at the north end to the double doors at the south by the staff patio.
Okay.
We also just state if we have this light spine, what is it doing to natural light and then the cost of us having to light up that whole area? This is a large space. So there should be some cost savings in our future electric bills, et cetera. I mean, have we looked at that? Have we considered that? You know,
So I think so. One thing, energy, yes, in terms of cost, because of the ordinance consideration with our franchise agreement with ComEd, you're not necessarily paying dollar, but in terms of being a good steward and reducing electrical consumption,
I think it's being the good steward.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay. All right, so I'm just going to go down the line here. Trustee Kagan, if you could please share your position on this.
Which position exactly? Because there's.
We're talking
something I
the light
wanted to
spine right now. Let's just go to
Right.
light spine.
I'm in favor of the light spine. I understand exactly what it's designed to do, and I think it's a needed element for the building.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Antoise?
I'm for the light spine.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Page?
I'm against the light spine.
Okay, Trustee Nekovar?
I'm sort of mixed on it, to be honest. It's a lot of information.
Yes, it is. Thank you, but thank you very much, and thank you, everyone. And then I know Trustee Martinez had to leave, and our apologies for that.
Yep.
But our village attorney did speak with him.
Yes, before he left, he did indicate to me that he was in favor of the light spine.
He is in favor, and I am as well. So, okay. Anything else we need? Because I do want to get to our next part of our meeting, which is our neighbors are here. So
I think that's probably the most critical item, right? We can get you some additional elevations, renderings and things to look at and digest all the data, and then we can get some additional information. We can kind of keep concurrently moving forward and getting what we can get done until we come back before you.
okay, so I'm sorry, I know that this has gone on. We thank everyone for your time and thank everyone waiting here this evening. Not thinking this would go this long, but I do appreciate the information we've received. And we will continue working on this, obviously. And thank you, Director Bethel, for the presentation. Very detailed and a lot of work for you and your team. So thank you very much. And our apologies for needing to do that. We do have an ordinance before us, and that would be ordinance 2025-29, which would be an ordinance to amend the village code of the Village of Woodridge Title VI, which governs motor vehicles and traffic within the village to incorporate electronic bicycles and scooters. And we're going to go ahead and move to this item, but I want to frame this a little bit for everyone that is here this evening. We'll try to get through this as quickly as we can. First of all, we thank you very much for being here and waiting, and we do apologize for that. Before we begin, though, there's a few things we'd like to go over, just a general procedure for tonight. And first would be a staff presentation, which Chief Tom Stephenson is here and going to present. And then we will have initial mayor board follow-up and questions for staff or the chief. And then we will move right away to public comment. And then we will go to mayor board discussion from there. So Chief, thank you very much for being here. And again, thank you everyone for waiting. Our apologies.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you, the board, and thanks for all the neighbors that stuck around to that are interested in this topic. So we're here tonight to propose an ordinance that regulates e-scooters or electronic scooters and electronic bikes within the village. And this is in response to several complaints that we've received over the past few months regarding these type of devices being on our sidewalks, our bike paths, our multi-use paths, excuse me. Some of the unsafe acts that are described are wheelies, not being considerate of other pedestrians or users of the bike paths or the multi-use paths of the sidewalks. This is also sort of a hot topic, I would call it, amongst other village entities and cities across the county. And I'll kind of show you some comparables later on in the presentation of what other villages and towns are doing. But I thought it would help to kind of give some definitions here. So an e-scooter really is described as a device that weighs less than 100 pounds. It either has 2 or 3 wheels, and by that, they usually are sometimes in the back, they'll have 2 wheels. It's got a flat floorboard for you to stand on. And it's equipped with a set of handlebars, and it can be propelled by an electric motor or human power. Maximum speed is no more than 10 miles per hour. E-bikes are bicycles that are equipped obviously with fully operable pedals. They can include an electric motor rated under 750 watts. There are actually some that have motors that are 750 or higher. And they fall under 3 classifications, and they're described in the Illinois Vehicle Code, and I'll show you those in just one second. And they're really designed for both electric assist and manual pedaling. And then this next slide will just offer a little clarification on that. So they're divided into 3 classes. So the class 1 is a low-speed electric bicycle equipped with a motor that provides pedal assist only while the rider is pedaling, and it stops providing assistance once the bicycle reaches a maximum speed of 20 miles per hour. Then there's the class 2 that the motor will exclusively propel the bicycle without pedaling, automatically stops providing assistance again at that 20 mile per hour threshold. And then the class 3 is similar to the class 1 bike, that it provides electric assistance while pedaling, but the top speed on those, it stops providing assistance at 28 miles per hour. I said some of the comparable towns. Darien will be proposing an ordinance on the 21st with very similar restrictions to the ordinance that's being proposed tonight. That includes a prohibition on sidewalks, village-owned, public sidewalks and bike paths. Willowbrook, which we sort of used as a model for our ordinance, they have that ordinance in place, restrictions similar to our proposal, and including that manual power use only with an e-bike when it's used on a public sidewalk, bike path, multi-use path. Glen Ellen has an ordinance already in place as well. Bans the use of e-bikes, e-scooters, typically in what they call their designated central business district, which should really be, I guess, the downtown Glen Ellen, if you're familiar with that village. And then they have other restrictions in there similar to what is being proposed as well. Hinsdale is a little unique. They require their bicycles, electronic bicycles and electronic scooters to be licensed by the village, and that license actually has to be attached to the device or the conveyance. Again, similar to Glen Ellen, they prohibit the use of electronic bikes on their sidewalks. They must be used on the streets, and they also have a defined downtown business area where they don't allow bicycles or e-bikes or e-scooters. Westmont is currently one of the villages that's considering an ordinance due to similar complaints that we've received. Same with Downers Grove. That issue is being discussed at board level to determine what action, if any, they're going to take. And I included Elmhurst in here, not that it's a close by community, but I know that they've had several instances and a lot of complaints regarding e-bikes. They just recently, a couple weeks ago, had a lady exiting a business that was struck by somebody on an e-bike that took her to the hospital. Thankfully, her injuries weren't that serious. I talked to my colleague at Elmhurst. They're not currently considering an ordinance. They're using what's in the Illinois Vehicle Code already for enforcement action. And they also have a local ordinance that bans any type of bicycle or skateboard or scooter, like a manual scooter, in what they consider their downtown area, which they listed by a geographic boundary. Some of the highlights of our proposed ordinance: minimum age to operate the low-speed electric or gas bicycle would be 16 years of age. The minimum age to operate a low-speed electric scooter, 18 years of age. This is where we're a little unique. We're asking that all operators of these devices 21 years of age or under would be required to wear a Department of Transportation or DOT approved helmet. We are asking to prohibit riding on sidewalk, bike paths, and multi-use paths when using motorized power. So manual power will still be allowed, but we're similar to other entities. We're asking that the motorized power not be allowed on those paths. It applies to all the standard traffic laws to riders of e-bikes, e-scooters, mopeds, and gas bicycles, similar to what's required of bicyclists. It would prohibit any device with an electric motor of 750 watts or over, or off-highway motorcycles on public property. That threshold of 750 watts is pulled right from the Illinois Vehicle Code. We didn't invent that. That's their definition. And it clarifies, obviously, that these rules do not apply to motorized wheelchairs or personal mobility devices used by individuals with any disability. Our goal on implementation would be one of public education. We are not looking to go out and start just randomly writing tickets or enforcing these. I think it's important for us to let our citizens know about this ordinance, and we would do that through a multitude of ways. One of them is going to be in-person contact by the officers if they see someone that might be violating the ordinance, or that we get called of a complaint about somebody violating the ordinance. And then we're going to also involve in some community engagement. I'll work with our communications director. We're going to use social media, e-news, focus newsletter, our electronic message boards, water bill brief, website, to really kind of advertise how this ordinance applies. Obviously, if we need to, though, if we get a complaint and the behavior is so egregious, then we could take immediate enforcement action if we need to. Let's talk about the penalties. This is where we still have some work to do. This ordinance really is an amendment of our current bicycle ordinance. Looking at those fines, they're typically either $10 or $5, depending on what is violated. Those can be raised if you have multiple violations within a 12-month period. They can add $15 for the second violation or $30 for the second violation within a rolling 12-month period. Quite frankly, those fines seem incredibly low to me compared to what is being proposed in other cities or villages. So we're going to be working to just kind of address those with an ordinance for the August 7th village board meeting that will amend that proposed fine structure. So we have some research to do, but I wanted to just kind of point out that what Darien is proposing on Monday night, their fine structure for theirs is no less than a $25 fine and no more than a $750 fine. So I think that just kind of shows that our fines are especially for this, are a little bit behind the times and need to be addressed. With that, can I take any questions? Yes, sir.
Before we get going on questions, Chief, a couple things. The reference to the fine structure in Darien, I'll tell you based on my experience, often towns just have a general penalty ordinance. Woodridge is, I wouldn't say completely unique, but it's a bit unusual that they have a broken down ordinance on different violations. Many towns have a violation, a general penalty similar to the one that the chief referenced in Darien, which is a minimum fine of X not to exceed Y, which is frankly, from the attorney's perspective, a more preferable way because it allows for people who are recidivists to be treated a little different people whose conduct is more egregious, as the chief referenced, to be treated a little different, and gives the trier of fact, whether it's a judge in the Circuit Court of Cook County or an administrative law judge, if we get there, to make those determinations. With respect to the ages that the chief referenced as far as minimum ages permitted, those are also set forth in the Illinois Vehicle Code. Those were not numbers that were pulled out of thin air, as well as the prohibition from operating low-speed gas and electric bicycles on sidewalks. Those are things that are set forth in the Illinois Vehicle Code, which does apply, but I believe the chief's position, which I concur with, is that setting forth specifically in our ordinance, in our code of ordinances, the prohibition or the regulation, more to the fact, is appropriate. And then, of course, obviously, as a home rule municipality, we can make it more strict, and that's what the provision relating to helmets does.
And one thing I did not mention too is what's being proposed tonight does align with current Park District ordinances regarding their multi-use path, as they don't allow motorized vehicles on their paths other than like a public emergency vehicle or things like that. So what's being proposed is in alignment with that.
We're going to open it up, Chief.
Sure.
To the village board. Anyone have any questions at this time? Trustee Antelis?
Hi, Chief.
Hi.
With regard, so if somebody's in violation and they're a minor, does the fine go to them or to their parents?
It could go to both of them, actually. We could cite the juvenile, and then we could also cite the parent for allowing the behavior.
Okay.
Attorney Pat, repeating what I heard, the age of 16 being the minimum age in which to ride an e-bike is state law?
Yes, specifically Section 11-1516 of the Illinois Vehicle Code says a person may not operate a low-speed gas bicycle. Only if a person may operate such a vehicle only if that person's at least 16 years of age. With respect to the low-speed electric scooter, it's actually in Section 11-1518 is 18 years.
Thank you. Big picture, yes, I agree with the helmets. It's state law. I can agree with the ages. I'll be honest, I struggle with the paths and the sidewalks. So for example, I'm on Route 53, let's say between Seven Bridges and BP. Director Bethel put in some great sidewalks. I'd rather someone be on an e-bike on that sidewalk than next to a semi on the road.
Understood.
I get it in residential areas. Some little girls were on e-scooters on Woodridge Drive. Fine. The speed limit's 25. I didn't realize those bikes went so fast. They go to 20 miles an hour. That makes sense. But if I'm on Hobson coming up the hill from 53, I want you on that path. I don't want to have to swerve around somebody who's only going 15 and I'm going way above 15, not speeding, but above 15. I get it in residential, and that I can support. I cannot support on our major roads telling somebody, you take your little slow speed 15-mile-an-hour scooter. It just doesn't make good sense to me.
Okay.
If I may, just to address, because you referenced the scooter, actually pursuant to state law, you cannot operate an electronic scooter on any road. I think it's I was just looking at it, sorry. I think it's 35 miles an hour on any road that the speed is 35 miles an hour or miles an hour or higher. And I'm going to find it because I know I just looked at it.
And scooter and bike both?
I believe on scooters, not on bikes. As if you don't see it probably maybe as much in the suburbs, but certainly in the city, you see people riding on streets. Of course, those many streets in the city have dedicated bike lanes because of that. But even on those streets that don't have dedicated bike lanes, you do see the bicycles are required, even if they're manually powered, to be on streets, not on sidewalks.
The difference between the city and us is there's a traffic light every 10th of a mile. And the speed limit is probably under 30 miles an hour, whether people are doing it or us. We have these long stretches of road, and that makes a huge difference for me.
Well, it's not permitted on any state highway. That's also in the state code.
Is 53 a state highway?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And I found the section that says a person may not operate a low-speed electric scooter on a highway with a posted speed limit in excess of 35 miles an hour.
Scooter, not bike.
That's the scooter. For bicycles, it says, the specific state law says, person may operate a low-speed electric bicycle upon any highway, street, or roadway authorized for use by bicycles. That's a separate definition, including but not limited to bicycle lanes. In other words, you'd have to go back to the definition of where bicycles are permitted. And again, those are not permitted on state highways. So you can't, that's why you don't see bicyclists on 355, right? You know, or you shouldn't. Again, you don't, they shouldn't be on 53 or any other state road of that nature.
Thank you.
Chief Stephenson, can you clarify, if they are in manual mode, they could still be on the sidewalk or the bike path? Is that accurate?
If they're pedaling manually, or propelling that scooter manually, they would be allowed.
What else? Okay. So at this time, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For all the information, and we appreciate that. And before we move on this agenda item, first of all, again, we thank everyone for being here, for everyone that sent in public comments prior to tonight's meeting as well. Moving now to the next portion, which is the public comment portion, just a few guidelines, please. One, I'm going to ask our village administrator if you would please begin by identifying the written comments that we've received in advance of tonight's meeting regarding this agenda item, and please enter those into our public record.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First one is Barbara Smith, Marianne Rooney, Edward Hedborn, Jan Saunders, George Kalinka, Bill Yunker, David Allen, Ryan and Amanda Curry, excuse me, Daniel No, Bill Creed, and Sandy Fallish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving forward, just to let everyone know that is here this evening, the village board is very interested in hearing from you, as we always are. We want to hear the feedback, and then we want to allow time for you to speak here publicly tonight so that we can maximize that. We do follow a 3-minute rule. That's just something we follow with all of our public comment. It is for you to be able to come up and speak, share your thoughts and comments. We do have comment cards that we would ask that you also complete. So we would have those for our public record here at our meeting. And once you complete that, either before you speak or after, we can just hand them in and we'll have them here with our village administrator. We will then also ask you to come up and speak, either by name if you filled out a comment card, or if you just come up and then our village attorney will walk you through the process of coming to speak before us here as a village board. If anyone has any written statements or documents that you'd like to present to the board, please do so and tender those to any of our village staff members at this time. Once the last speaker has been called or steps up, we will close the public comment portion of our meeting and then turn it back over to our village board for comment and deliberation. And for those who have emailed in written public comments in advance, just know that those copies have already been provided to all of us on the village board and myself. So we're now going to ask Attorney Pat just to provide a few minute highlights of coming up to speak before the village board, and we would invite you all. So Attorney Pat?
Thank you. As the mayor indicated, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. It's not a question and answer session, though. I just want everyone to understand. It's 3 minutes for you to talk. If you have a question, you can certainly ask it, but the board or staff will not be responding to you in real time. If there's questions that you ask that the board feels need to be addressed, they will ask staff, in fact, to do so. We would ask that when you step up, you identify yourself by your name and your address. And you'll have 3 minutes. And when you got about 30 seconds left, I'll let you know that you're running out of time. And then just as a general comment, we would ask everyone just to be respectful. Obviously, there are strong opinions on this issue, both pro and con, as far as regulation is concerned. Anybody who's ever spoken in public knows it's not easy to stand up at that podium and speak. So we'd ask that you refrain from shouting out or clapping or not clapping or booing or anything like that. Just allow everyone to speak. This is a public meeting. Everyone here knows how to conduct themselves. And with that, we'd ask that the first speaker step
I
up.
don't believe we have any comment cards here. I've just checked with our administrator, so I'm going to ask if you would like to make a public comment at this time to please come up to the podium. Just come on up and we'll have you introduce yourself, Bill. Thank you for being here.
I know you know the drill, but I'll say it again. Identify yourself by name and address, please.
My name is Bill Yunker. I live at 1540 Talcott Road, Woodridge, Illinois. And I completely support the proposed ordinance regarding the e-scooters and the e-bikes. I think it is very accommodating that the children can use the scooters and the bikes. I say children, 16 years or older, manually on the bike paths. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bill, please fill out a card. There you go.
Anyone else, please? We'd like to invite you up at this time if you'd like to make a public comment. Good evening, and again, thank you for waiting.
My name is Erin Storr. I'm at 78.
Aaron, can you speak a little closer? You can bring it down. You don't have to stand tippy toe. There you go.
My name is Erin Storr. I'm at 7828 Hiawatha Parkway. I appreciate this presentation, and I would really like to just see more education to the schools, perhaps directly to more children. I think my oldest is 13, and I see a lot of his peers engaging in this activity. So I'd like to see more clarification, I think, for everybody. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you could, I'm sorry, Aaron, if you could fill out a speaker card, Chief will give you one.
Hello, good evening.
My name is Cassandra No of 5 Roberts Court, and I just wanted to make a clarification. I appreciate that the e-bikes and the e-scooters can be used on manual mode on the paths, but I don't know if you're familiar with how the devices actually work. If you have an e-bike and you're in manual mode, it is extremely difficult to pedal. You go slow and you cannot get uphill at all. For an e-bike to work, like a regular bike, just to make it equivalent, you need to have pedal assist. If you're not using pedal assist, you cannot use an e-bike, and you certainly wouldn't be able to make up any hills. And a lot of times on the paths, the people I see using e-bikes aren't kids, it's senior citizens who want to be able to continue to bike. And then the other way I see it used is for commuting. My own husband uses his e-bike to get to work. And for the same reasons that Trustee Page mentioned, you don't want to be riding your bike on roads where the people are zooming past you. I wouldn't feel safe with him riding his e-bike on those roads. And he's been riding it safely for 3 years without incident. So I don't think that there's a problem there that needs to be fixed. There are problems that have to be fixed, but I don't think that's one of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you fill out a speaker card?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else, please? Okay, well, again, we thank everyone for being here, and again, thank you for waiting. We appreciate the feedback, and going to, okay, yep, thank you very much.
Sure.
Going to open it up and ask any board members for any questions you may have of the chief. Any clarifications of anything, because this is the time. And going to open it up to the village board. Anyone have any questions? Curtis?
Just
Trustee
with
Neckar?
with the scooters, in electric mode, it would be 16 and older. Or 18, is it 18?
18.
18 for scooters.
In non-electric, so if they have a scooter and they just want to push it along manually,
That's fine.
under 18 would be fine to do that.
Do you mean like a non-motorized scooter?
No, a motorized that
motor-
you're just using manual.
I think a motorized scooter that you're using, if you're on an electric scooter, you have to be 18, even if you're using it in a manual mode.
Manual fashion.
And that, again, that's already existing law.
Right.
State law does not differentiate whether it's on manual or electric power.
Right.
Just as you can't use it if you're under 18.
Okay, thank you.
And then if I could, I'm going to add just a few things. So I think just in listening here tonight, obviously important, the education piece, right? And working with the schools is a great, which we would anyway, but also getting information out to everyone. But, I guess, my question to everyone is, are we ready to make a decision on this evening? Do we need more information? What do we need? So please be thinking of that because that's what I'm going to be asking next. If we're ready, we have the ordinance before us. But if we need more information, even beyond what the chief has provided and our village attorney, now is the time to please either ask your questions or just let me know if you are ready. So well put. So we obviously have Trustee Martinez had to leave early, so we don't have really a full board at this time. But I just want to ask the question, Trustee Nekovar, are you ready to make your decision tonight, or do you need more information?
I'd prefer more information, including ironing out the fine structure, so we have that all together in one package instead of, we push this tonight and then we're going to have to readdress the fine package. But yeah, there's been a lot of public comment, both in writing and, here tonight.
Sure.
And just to get it all packaged up and just review it again, I would feel much more comfortable with that.
Thank you very much. Trustee Page?
I would like more information, specifically the last point about just scooters, manual mode having to be 16. And often we talk about our home rule powers. So how our home rule powers play into the vehicular code and what we do and do not have to adhere to.
What? Trustee Anteles?
I would like also some time to review all the information and get a little bit more clarification between the scooters, the bikes, what can be done, what can't be done, I just want to take a little bit more time in review, and if we could get a copy of this package that you have displayed tonight, that'd be great.
You'd like a copy of the PowerPoint? You're referring to the PowerPoint, you would like a copy of that as well? Okay.
Trustee Kagan?
I'm prepared to proceed, but out of deference to my colleagues, I understand the reason to want to slow down, so.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would ask then for a motion to continue to our next meeting or the meeting after when we have enough by. So we would move it to the August 7th meeting. Asking for a motion.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So we will get some further information, maybe go through all the questions and answers and everything that's been provided, what the chief provided tonight, as well as our neighbors, the points that they brought forward. I do think we need more information, but thank you for at least getting all of this started and all the background. Appreciate that very much.
And then this will be set on the August 7th agenda for hearing.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, before we adjourn this evening, I do want to make an honorable mention. We had two members of the School District 68 retire, and Tom Ruggio and Scott Coley retired, and they were recognized for their long-standing dedicated service to our school district. And I wanted to highlight them. We definitely appreciate their commitment to the community, and their contributions, which are incredible, will be missed. This spring, Mr. Reggio was also recognized for his service to public education at the Illinois Association of School Boards, DuPage Division, for his 14 years in leadership, and also the past 10 years on the Illinois ASB Board of Directors. So we wanted to highlight them and thank them for all of their outstanding service to the village. And we are going to go ahead and ask for,
Okay, we have one more item.
okay, whoops, we do. We have one more item. Wow, I was ready to go home with all of you. We do have before us ordinance 2025-30. This is amending Title 9, Chapter 6 for the zoning administration and enforcement. Approval of this ordinance will authorize text amendments to the zoning code, Title 9, Chapter 6, Section 5, clarifying the process for planned unit development minor amendments. Anything further on this, Administrator Stonich?
No, Mayor Cunningham, this is a housekeeping item that we identified as part of the prior zoning code update. We actually undid one of our prior rules to the zoning code. It allowed staff review and oversight regarding certain minor amendments to plans. The Planning Commission did review that with our staff, and they unanimously recommend to you approval of this ordinance. So unless there are any questions for Director Clark, staff would recommend approval.
Thank you very much. So we have before us ordinance 2025-30. May I please have a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you very much, Trustee Page, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Angeles. Any discussion on this item? If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Annalise,
Aye.
trustee Nekovar,
Aye.
trustee Page,
Aye.
trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everyone. With no further business to discuss this evening, I'd like to please ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? It is 9:17 PM and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Good evening.